You've been dragging around a version of yourself for far too long, one that doesn't deserve to exist any longer. That weak version, full of excuses, procrastination, and fear, has been holding you back, limiting your potential, keeping you stuck in a state of mediocrity that you barely even notice. But it's time to kill it, not with words, not with empty promises, but with action. Inside you, there's a stronger, more disciplined, unstoppable version waiting to be unleashed. But it won't appear by magic. You have to forge it, train it, harden it through daily decisions. There are no shortcuts, no secret formulas. There's only one path. Destroy what keeps you weak and build what will make you invincible. Before we begin, I want you to make a real commitment to yourself. Listening isn't enough. You need to act. Write in the comments, "Today, I choose to become my best self. I am stoic." Say it out loud. Make it public. Let this be the first step in destroying your weak version and beginning your transformation. Now let's get to the point. Number 1, acknowledge the existence of your weak version. Recognizing your weak version is the first step to overcoming it. Most people live in denial, hiding their flaws, justifying their lack of discipline, and avoiding reality. But Stoicism teaches us that the only way to grow stronger is to face our weaknesses head-on, without excuses, without self-deception. You can't improve what you refuse to acknowledge. Think about how many times you've postponed an important task simply because you didn't feel like doing it. Procrastination is nothing more than a sign that your weak version is winning. Instead of facing the challenge, you choose temporary comfort. And what happens next? You feel guilty, disappointed in yourself, trapped in a cycle of avoiding what you know you should do. Marcus Aurelius said, "The obstacle is the way." That resistance you feel is precisely the signal that this is where you need to work. To start overcoming that weak part of yourself, make a list of the things that hold you back. Write them down with brutal honesty. Do you struggle to wake up early, lack the discipline to train, avoid tough conversations? Recognizing this is painful because it means admitting that you're not as strong as you'd like to believe. But in Stoicism, truth is the foundation of progress. You can't shape yourself into something better without first seeing what needs to change. People lie to themselves, saying, "That's just who I am," as if their weaknesses were permanent parts of their identity. That's false. You are not your current habits. You are what you choose to become every day. Epictetus taught that you shouldn't complain about life as if you were a victim of fate, but instead take absolute responsibility for who you are and how you act. If today you see yourself as weak, that doesn't mean you have to be weak tomorrow. But recognizing weakness isn't enough. You must take immediate action. A Stoic doesn't just talk about philosophy. He applies it in his daily life. If you've realized that procrastination is your issue, commit to tackling the hardest task of the day first thing in the morning. If your weakness is laziness, push your body into motion before your mind starts making excuses. The key is to act before resistance takes hold. The pain of change is far less than the suffering of staying the same. It's uncomfortable to wake up early. It's hard to say no to distractions. It's exhausting to face your fears, but it's far worse to live trapped in the mediocrity of your weak version. Think about how it would feel to look at yourself in the mirror a year from now and realize you're still the same. The same problems, the same excuses, the same lack of discipline. That should scare you more than anything else. So every time you notice your weak version trying to take control, do the opposite of what that inner voice tells you. If it tells you to rest for 5 more minutes, get up immediately. If it tells you to skip today's workout, do it right now. If it tells you to avoid that uncomfortable conversation, face it without hesitation. The key is to train your mind not to give in to comfort. The Stoics understood that true power comes from mastering yourself, It's not about conquering the external world. It's about conquering yourself. When you control yourself, when you own your actions instead of being a slave to your impulses, you discover what true freedom really is. Because your greatest enemy isn't out there. It's within you. So right now, decide that you're done feeding your weak version. Recognize it, yes, but don't let it win. Don't identify with it. Every day you have the opportunity to prove that you're stronger than you think. And when you act with discipline, courage, and determination, you don't just improve your life. You become someone worthy of respect, both from others and from yourself. Every day you choose not to change, you are giving up on the person you could become. It doesn't matter how much you rationalize it, how many excuses you make, or how many times you tell yourself that tomorrow will be the day you start. The truth is, every moment you choose not to act, you drift further away from your potential. Time keeps moving forward, indifferent to your excuses. Stoicism teaches us that the only thing we truly own is the present, and wasting it on procrastination is an act of self-deception and self-destruction. Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing a life that doesn't reflect who you truly want to be. You know you could be stronger, more disciplined, more focused on your goals, but instead of taking action, you keep postponing it. Days pass, weeks pass, years pass, and that reflection remains the same. The only difference is that now you carry the weight of more wasted opportunities, more lost time. How much longer will you keep waiting? You are not a victim of fate. There is no predetermined future waiting for you. Whatever you achieve in this life will be the result of the choices you make. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. Marcus Aurelius said, "A man's life is what his thoughts make of it." If you think you can't change, if you think it's not worth trying, then that will be your reality. But if you choose to shift your mindset, if you decide to act, then nothing and no one can stop you. Stop waiting for motivation to arrive. Motivation is inconsistent, fragile, temporary. What you truly need is discipline, because discipline is what will make you take action even when you don't feel like it. You don't need to feel ready to start. You just need to start. Epictetus said, "Happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one simple rule. Some things are within our control and some are not. And what is always within your control is your ability to act in this very moment." The problem is that most people want results without paying the price of effort. They want to be in shape without training. They want success without sacrifice. They want self-discipline without discomfort. But the truth is, all real change comes at a cost. And if you're not willing to pay it, then keep looking in the mirror. Keep seeing the version of yourself that you know doesn't make you proud. Today you have a choice. You can stay the same, dragging the same habits, falling into the same excuses, accumulating more regrets. Or you can stand up and decide that this is the moment everything changes. Not because someone else says so, not because it's a new year, a new month, or a Monday, but because you finally understand that time won't wait for you. The first step doesn't have to be massive. You don't need to change your entire life in a single day. The only thing you need to do is take one small act of discipline right now. Go for a run, write that page, make that call. Start with what you have, where you are, but start. Because the moment you prove to yourself that you can take action, even when you don't feel like it, you realize that change is possible. No one is coming to rescue you. No one will do the work for you. No one will care about your life more than you do. And if you don't take control now, you will remain a slave to inertia, trapped in the same routine, looking back years from now, realizing you could have been so much more. The Stoics understood that real power is in action, not in words, not in intentions, not in wishes, in action. So don't wait any longer. Don't give yourself another excuse to stay the same. Decide right now that your life will not be defined by procrastination or fear. Take that first step today. That voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, that you'll fail, that's not the truth. It's just an impression, and impressions are not facts. Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but the interpretations we place upon them." What truly holds you back isn't your lack of ability. It's the story you tell yourself about who you are. Think about all the times you wanted to do something, but that inner voice stopped you. Maybe you wanted to speak in public, but in your mind, you heard, "You're not good at this. You'll mess up. Everyone will judge you." Or maybe you wanted to start a project, but that thought appeared, "You don't have enough talent." That is an obstacle. And Stoicism teaches us that obstacles aren't meant to stop us. They're meant to be overcome. When that voice shows up, don't accept it without questioning it. Ask yourself, is this a fact or just an irrational fear? Is this helping me or holding me back? What real evidence do I have that I can't do this? Chances are you'll realize those doubts aren't based on reality, but on insecurities you've built up over time. And if you let them run unchecked, they will continue to define your life. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded himself not to be carried away by negative thoughts without examining them first. He called it training the mind to see things as they really are. You are not your thoughts. You are not your fears. You are not your doubts. You are the actions you choose to take despite all of them. When you notice that critical voice trying to take over, change the narrative. Instead of saying, "I'm not good enough," say, "I am capable of improving." Instead of, "I'm going to fail," say, "Every attempt brings me closer to my goal." This isn't about lying to yourself with fake positivity. It's about responding with the truth. The truth is, no one is born knowing everything. The truth is, progress is possible. The truth is, what you believe about yourself directly influences how you act. You cannot let an unfounded voice take control of your life. You have to confront it with the same determination you would use to face an external enemy, because that voice can be your worst enemy. If you don't stop it, it will limit every decision you make, keep you small, and force you to live in fear. But if you challenge it, if you face it with logic and courage, you will take back control over yourself. The key is not to eliminate those thoughts entirely, because they will always appear. The key is not identifying with them, not giving them authority, letting them pass like clouds in the sky without holding on to them. Because a negative thought only has power if you give it your attention. If instead you choose to focus on action, on what you can do, on what is within your control, that voice loses its strength. The Stoics understood that the mind needs discipline. Just as we train our bodies to be strong, we must train our minds to resist doubt and fear. And the best way to do that is through action. Every time you do the opposite of what that voice tells you, every time you face a challenge instead of avoiding it, every time you make a brave decision instead of giving in to insecurity, you are weakening your inner enemy. Stop letting a fleeting thought control you. Don't allow an automatic reaction to dictate your life. You are stronger than that. You have the power to question every idea that arises in your mind and choose which ones to accept and which ones to reject. Because the only voice that should guide you is not fear, it's reason and virtue. And that voice will always push you toward action, toward growth, toward the life you truly deserve. What you do every day defines who you become. It's not moments of inspiration, not bursts of motivation that shape your destiny. It's the habits you repeat over and over again. If your habits are weak, your life will be weak. If your habits are strong, you will build a version of yourself that can handle any challenge. There are no shortcuts, no magic tricks, only constant repetition of actions that bring you closer to who you want to be. Imagine someone who wakes up late with no energy, no purpose, immediately scrolling through their phone before even getting out of bed. Their day already starts in laziness, out of control. Then they procrastinate at work, get distracted by social media, eat mindlessly, avoid physical effort, and by the time night comes, they feel unfulfilled, yet they repeat the same cycle the next day. Why? Because their habits have trapped them in a routine of weakness. Now imagine another version of that same person. They wake up early, not because it's easy, but because they have trained their mind to resist the temptation of comfort. Their first action of the day isn't seeking distractions, but taking control of their time. Maybe they exercise, meditate, or review their goals before starting their work. They approach their tasks with discipline, without excuses. Instead of eating whatever is convenient, they choose what nourishes their body. And by the end of the day, they feel progress, not stagnation. None of this is about talent or luck. It's about habits. The Stoics understood that self-control is the foundation of real power. Epictetus said that you cannot control what happens outside of you, but you can control how you respond. And the best way to respond with strength is to train both your mind and body through solid habits. The difference between mediocrity and excellence isn't found in big decisions. It's in what you choose to do in the small moments. If you want to change, saying you will is not enough. You need to take action right now. Start by identifying a weak habit in your life, something you know is holding you back. Maybe you struggle to wake up early. Maybe you waste too much time on social media. Maybe your diet is out of control. Don't try to change everything at once. The secret is not in extreme transformations. It's in gradually and consistently replacing weak habits with strong ones. If you sleep too much, start by gradually reducing the time you spend in bed each day until waking up early becomes automatic. If you spend too much time on your phone, set distraction-free periods and replace them with reading or learning. If your eating habits are all over the place, don't try to change everything overnight. Start with just one healthier meal a day and build from there. The key is replacement. It's not enough to eliminate a bad habit. You must replace it with one that makes you stronger. Weak habits are formed through repetition, and strong ones are too. What feels difficult at first will eventually become natural, but only if you commit to consistent practice. Marcus Aurelius understood that every action shapes your character. If you act with discipline today, it will be easier to act with discipline tomorrow. If you give in to laziness today, it will be harder to resist it in the future. You're not just fighting for this moment. You're shaping the person you will be in the years to come. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for the perfect moment. The best way to change is to just start. You don't need massive victories, just small daily decisions that add up. Every time you choose to get out of bed instead of sleeping in, you're winning. Every time you focus on your work instead of getting distracted, you're winning. Every time you resist the temptation to fall back into an old habit, you're building a stronger version of yourself. The power is in consistency. It doesn't matter how motivated you feel today. What matters is what you do tomorrow, the next day, and every day after that. Change now, because every day you continue with the same habits. You move further away from the person you could become. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't matter, you are saying no to what could truly change your life. People complain that they don't have time for their goals, but if you look at how they spend their days, you'll see their schedule is packed with irrelevant things, unnecessary commitments, favors they didn't want to do, distractions disguised as responsibilities. It's not that they don't have time, it's that they don't protect it. People who accomplish great things don't do so because they have more hours in the day. They do so because they know how to invest them. They say no to most things, not because they are cold or selfish, but because they understand that every yes has a cost. Every time you say yes without thinking, you are stealing time and energy from yourself, time you could be using for what actually matters. Think about how many times you've said yes just to avoid conflict. Someone asks you for a favor you don't want to do, but you say yes so you don't seem rude. You get invited to something you have no interest in, but you accept so you don't look antisocial. You take on tasks that don't move you toward your goal just because you felt like you had to. And then you wonder why you never have time to train, to learn, to build the life you want. Marcus Aurelius said we must constantly ask ourselves, is this essential? If the answer is no, then don't do it. You can't move forward if your energy is scattered on meaningless things. You have to be ruthless with your priorities. You cannot be a slave to other people's expectations. People will keep asking things of you. They will expect you to adjust to their schedule. But you are not here to fulfill everyone's wishes. You are here to do what you must do. Saying no feels uncomfortable at first, because you were taught that being a good person means pleasing others. But Stoicism isn't about pleasing. It's about living according to reason and virtue. And there is nothing virtuous about sacrificing your purpose for meaningless commitments. A Stoic does not act under pressure. A Stoic acts because they have decided something is right and necessary. Next time someone asks something of you, before you automatically respond, pause and ask yourself one question. Does this bring me closer to my goal or push me further away? If it doesn't bring you closer, the answer is no. You don't need to justify it. You don't need to make up an excuse. Just say, I can't. That's it. At first, people will be surprised, but soon they will understand that your time is valuable, and they will stop expecting you to be available for everything. This is not about being closed off. It's not about never helping anyone. It's about choosing wisely where you put your energy. When you say no to what doesn't matter, you can say yes more powerfully to what does. When you protect your time, you can dedicate it to what will help you grow. Every time you reject a distraction, you reinforce your commitment to your own life. The Stoics knew that self-discipline is the foundation of achievement. And part of self-discipline is not letting others decide how you spend your time. It's easy to go with the flow, to say yes to everything, to try to please everyone, but that will only pull you further away from your purpose. Saying no is an act of self-respect. It's a reminder that your life is not meant to be wasted on trivialities. Next time you hesitate, remember, every yes comes at a price. Make sure it's worth paying. Mediocrity doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps into your life little by little, disguised as comfort, as reasonable excuses, as this is good enough. One day, you wake up and realize you're stuck in a routine that doesn't challenge you, in a job where you do the bare minimum to not get fired, in relationships where you never risk saying what you truly think. And the worst part, you don't even know how you got there. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If you accept mediocrity in one area of your life, it will spread to everything else. If you do just enough to get by at work, over time, that attitude will reflect in your body, your mind, and your relationships. You will become someone who settles, who hides behind the excuse that it's not that bad, when deep down, you know you could be so much more. It's easy to justify it. You tell yourself that life is hard, that not everyone can be successful, that it's better to play it safe than take risks. But every time you repeat those phrases in your head, you are lying to yourself. It's not that you can't do more. It's that you've chosen not to try. It's not that the world has condemned you to mediocrity. It's that you have allowed it to take root in your life. The Stoics understood that the real enemy is not outside of you. It's not the boss who doesn't appreciate you, not society imposing limits on you, not luck that isn't on your side. It's the inner voice that tells you it's okay to stay where you are, that putting in effort is too much work, that excellence is for other people. That voice is the sleep of mediocrity, and if you don't fight it, it will lull you into complacency until one day you wake up and realize you've wasted years of your life. Take an honest inventory. Look at your life and ask yourself, where have I been settling? Where am I accepting less than what I know I'm capable of? Maybe it's in your mind, where you consume empty entertainment instead of educating yourself and growing. Maybe it's in your relationships, where you don't speak honestly, don't ask for what you need, don't show your true worth. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. The first battle is against denial. Admit it. You've let mediocrity take space in your life. But recognizing it is not a reason for guilt. It's an opportunity. Because the moment you realize you are asleep, you can wake up. You don't need an instant transformation, but you do need an unbreakable commitment to improvement. Step out of your comfort zone every single day, even just a little. If you've been settling for the bare minimum at work, start standing out. Not for recognition, but because excellence should be your standard. If you've been avoiding physical effort, start with just 10 minutes a day, but do it without fail. If your relationships have become shallow, dare to be honest, to show who you really are. Mediocrity is a habit, and so is excellence. It's not natural talent. It's a daily decision. Marcus Aurelius understood this. Choose the hard path. Choose what requires effort. Choose what makes you uncomfortable, because that's where real growth happens. Don't live with the feeling that you could have been more but never tried. Don't wait for life to force you to change. Wake up now, because every day you stay asleep in mediocrity is a day you will never get back. You can't rely on motivation. Motivation is unstable, fragile, a fleeting impulse that comes and goes without warning. If you wait to feel motivated before taking action, you will never be consistent, never make progress, never reach excellence. What will truly take you far is discipline. Discipline is what gets you out of bed early when you want to sleep in. It's what pushes you to train when you don't feel like it, to work when you're tired, to keep going when the weaker part of your mind wants to quit. Think of an elite athlete. They don't train only when they feel inspired. They don't wait to be in the right mood to go for a run. They don't look for excuses when the weather isn't perfect or when their body is exhausted. They train because it's what they must do. Because they have built the habit of discipline to the point where their body and mind know there is no other option. It's the same for anyone who reaches greatness in their field. They are not waiting to feel ready. They simply do what must be done. The Stoics understood that discipline is the key to self-mastery. Epictetus taught that real freedom is not doing whatever you want whenever you want. It's having absolute control over yourself. And that control can only be achieved through the constant repetition of actions that strengthen your character. If you give in to comfort, if you let your impulses dictate your life, you become a slave to your emotions. But if you train your mind to act regardless of how you feel, you become unstoppable. Every day you have a choice between discipline and mediocrity. You can keep postponing what you know you need to do, or you can take action right now. You can give in to fatigue, to laziness, to distractions, or you can push a little harder, hold the line, and prove to yourself that you are in control. The difference between those who achieve their goals and those who don't is not talent. It's the ability to keep going, even when they don't feel like it. The key is in habits. It's not about massive effort all at once. It's about small daily actions repeated over and over until they become part of who you are. If you want to become more disciplined, start with the basics. Don't worry about how much you can accomplish in a single day. Worry about what you can do consistently for years. A small daily effort is worth more than a big burst of motivation that fades in a week. Don't allow yourself to make excuses. Don't tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. Don't fall into the trap of waiting for the perfect moment. Discipline is built through immediate action. You don't need to feel inspired to train. You just need to put on your shoes and start. You don't need to feel motivated to work. You just need to sit down and do it. You don't need to be in the mood to improve your life. You just need to make the decision not to be ruled by laziness. Marcus Aurelius understood that effort is what defines us. We are not what we think we're going to do. We are what we do repeatedly. If you train yourself to act, to discipline yourself, to move forward no matter the circumstances, you will build an unbreakable mindset. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are forging a stronger version of yourself. Every time you ignore that inner voice telling you to stop, you are training your mind to resist weakness. It's not about being perfect. It's about committing to getting better every single day. Because in the end, it's not the most motivated person who wins. It's the one who never stops moving forward. Every distraction you allow into your life is another obstacle between you and your goals. You don't notice it at first. It's just a few small moments here and there, a couple of minutes on social media, one more video, another meaningless conversation. But when you look back, you realize how much time you've lost. The biggest enemy of progress is not failure, it's distraction. Because failure at least teaches you something, but distraction, it just steals from you without you even realizing it. If you truly want to move forward, you need to change your environment. You can't expect to have discipline if you are surrounded by distractions designed to steal your focus. You can't concentrate if your phone vibrates every 5 minutes. You can't develop deep thinking if you fill your mind with shallow content. The Stoics understood that mental clarity is essential for excellence. You can't be strong if you are constantly distracted. Think of someone who wants to achieve something great, a writer who wants to finish their book, an entrepreneur who wants to build their business, an athlete who wants to reach their peak performance. How do they live? Do you think they spend hours scrolling through social media? Do you think they waste their energy on trivial things? No. They design their life so that everything around them pushes them toward their goal. They don't leave anything to chance. If you are truly committed to your growth, you need to take drastic measures. It's not enough to say, I'll try to be less distracted. You need to eliminate distractions at the root. Delete the apps that waste your time without giving you anything in return. Block the websites that pull you away from your work. Create a physical space where you can focus without interruptions. Turn off notifications. Get rid of what's unnecessary. You can't rely only on your willpower. You need to build an environment that helps you win. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that the key to a fulfilled life is focusing on what is essential. If something doesn't bring you closer to your purpose, it's a distraction. It doesn't matter if it seems harmless. It doesn't matter if it's a normal part of today's culture. It doesn't matter if everyone else is doing it. Ask yourself, does this bring me closer to my goals or push me further away? If the answer isn't clear, eliminate it. Distractions don't just steal your time, they steal your clarity. When you spend your day jumping from one thing to another, your mind never settles, never reaches depth. And without depth, there is no real growth. Deep focus is a superpower in a world where everyone is scattered. If you can learn to intensely focus on what truly matters, you will be far ahead of 99% of people. The best way to eliminate distractions is to replace them with something more powerful. It's not enough to delete social media if you don't have something meaningful to focus your energy on. Fill your time with activities that strengthen your mind and body. Train, study, create, work on your projects. Make your life so challenging and fulfilling that distractions lose their appeal. It won't be easy at first. Your mind will search for escapes, trying to pull you back into old habits. But every time you resist, you get stronger. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you are building a mindset of excellence. And one day when you look back, you'll see that you eliminated everything that was holding you back and created a real path to progress. Distractions won't go away on their own. You must take control and remove them with determination. Not because it's easy, but because you know that the life you want is on the other side of absolute focus. Fear is a silent enemy that hides in your mind, disguised as logic, as caution, as excuses that seem reasonable. It tells you it's not the right time, you're not ready. you should wait. But the reality is, the more you feed fear with inaction, the stronger it gets. If you don't face it today, it will grow tomorrow. And before you realize it, it will take control of your life without you even noticing. Every time you postpone something out of fear, you are choosing weakness. You know what you want to do. You know it's necessary, but you remain paralyzed. How many opportunities have you let slip away because you were afraid of failure? How many times have you stayed silent when you wanted to speak up? How many projects have you abandoned before even trying? The difference between those who achieve their goals and those who stay stuck in mediocrity is not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to act despite it. The Stoics understood that fear is just an impression, not reality. Marcus Aurelius put it clearly. If something external causes you distress, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your interpretation of it. Fear isn't the problem. It's what you do with it. You can let it control you, or you can face it with action. Action is the only real cure for fear. Think of someone who is afraid of public speaking. The first time they try, their hands shake, their voice trembles, their mind screams, "Don't do this," but they do it anyway. The second time, they still feel fear, but a little less. The third time, it's not as terrifying. By the 10th time, they realize the fear was never real. The only way to overcome it was by facing it again and again. If you hide from fear, it becomes a cage. If you face it, it becomes a springboard. Every action you take against fear makes you stronger, freer, more in control of your life. Epictetus said, "What you fear becomes insignificant once you confront it." Fear only loses power when you take action. Don't wait to feel ready. Just start. Identify one fear. Take a small step today and prove to yourself that fear is not in control. Every time you act despite fear, you get stronger. Your environment shapes you. If you surround yourself with people who complain, make excuses, or avoid challenges, you'll adopt their mindset. Mediocrity is contagious, but so is excellence. The Stoics knew this. Choose to be around those who push you to grow, who challenge you to be better, who refuse to let you settle. If you can't find them, seek inspiration from books, content, and communities that promote discipline and growth. You've been living far below your potential, stuck in comfort and routine without realizing it. The biggest mistake people make is accepting the story they tell themselves about who they are and what they can achieve. Your past does not define you. Your choices do. Breaking free from mediocrity requires discomfort. Growth is not easy, but comfort is the prison where potential dies. You won't wake up one day suddenly at your best. You have to push yourself, face challenges, and take action. Success isn't about talent or luck. It's about consistency. Motivation fades, but discipline remains. Most people quit when things get hard, but true strength is built through daily effort, even when you don't feel like it. If you want results, stop waiting and commit to daily action without excuses. Your brain can be reprogrammed. Neuroplasticity shows that the mind adapts, but only if you challenge it. If you let comfort and distractions dominate, you stay the same. If you push yourself to grow, your brain rewires for success. Your body and mind are connected. A weak body leads to a weak mind. Exercise sharpens focus, builds resilience, and strengthens discipline. If you want to think clearly and perform at your best, movement must be a non-negotiable part of your life. Stress is not your enemy. It's a signal that you're growing. The Stoics embraced stress as fuel for action. If you see it as an obstacle, it will stop you. If you use it as motivation, it will push you beyond your limits. Make a commitment now. Today, I choose to be my best self. I am Stoic. Don't just listen, act. Your future depends on it.